So these are going to be important in helping us maintain our upright stature, which means you're not going to fall over as you walk, sit, and do all that sort of stuff. The meningeal actually goes back in to help innervate the fibers, the spinal fibers. This is what it looks like if we were to look at a cross section, be able to just cut right through two of the vertebrae in between them. And the structure, you guys remember from part 1, the makeup of the actual vertebrae themselves, the way that they're going to articulate is going to allow for these nerves to enter and exit. So, as we take a peek at the posterior side, the anterior side, and if they're trying to show me my roots, the forking that goes in from the spinal nerve, these are the branches that are going to begin to exit, to come off of those spinal nerves. So see how it's got like this little branch going this direction, this little branch going here, and then this one little branch feeding back into the meninges and the spinal cord itself. So that's why I was talking about we're going to see it begin to feed those viscera of the body. This is what it looks like in a dissection. Now, do you ever get the chance, to be able to do the cadaver dissection? It is very interesting, to say the least. But do you kind of notice anything about these particular nerves? Something that I've already said. They are thick and they're tough. All right? Look at this posterior root, the ganglion, anterior, and the nerve that's going to feed off of it. It's huge. Okay? The structure is really cool, feeding into the body. Then, of course, a spinal cord, they're trying to show the segment and how the rootlets come in this picture. Now, those branches that I mentioned, we're going to find that for control of homeostasis in the body, we have our autonomic nervous system. Remember that? That contains sympathetic division, parasympathetic division. What did the sympathetic division do? Fight or flight. That is preparing the body. What effect did that have in the body? What actions did it cause to happen? Speeding up the heart rate, the breathing rate, blood flow to the muscles, skeletal muscles, cutting it off to the digestive system. Okay? So what that's doing, it prepares the body for whatever danger it may face. Alright? Whether real or perceived. You're either going to stand and fight it, or you're going to turn and run. Either way, it has to get the body ready. That's our sympathetic. If you ask me, not very sympathetic. Not what I think of when I hear that term. How about the parasympathetic? parasympathetic. That one calms it down. Brings the heart rate back. Brings the breathing rate back. The branches that you're going to see, all right, are feeding to the nerves that supply this type of preparing of the body. Because we're going to have our sympathetic chain, and we are going to have the ability for the parasympathetic, which is going to mostly come from the cranial area. These are the nerves that innervate the organ. But let me remind you, even though organs get innervated, including the heart, okay? The heart, however, does not require innervation to work. The heart is all to itself. Do we affect it? Yes. All right? But does the nerve basically control it? No. Okay? The other part about this nervous system, those plexi that we find, whenever you hear the term plexus, let it remind you of a huge grouping of something. All right? In this case, a huge grouping of nerves, of spinal nerves. Cervical plexus is found in the cervical region from basically C1 to C5. The big nerve that exits in this area is our phrenic nerve. Ever heard of it? What does it do? How? It innervates the diaphragm, and it plays a major role in the breathing. And the brachial plexus gives rise to what we're going to find a lot in our upper extremities. One of them that's kind of huge is our median nerve. That one, the most common thing that comes along with it, carpal tunnel syndrome. In the lumbar plexus, we're getting supply to lower areas of the body. And the sacral, once again, moving into the lower extremities as well as the coccygeal. And of course, in the sacral is where we're going to find that lovely sciatic nerve. Now, when we talk about information that we're going to find with the nerves, another important function of the spinal nerves is to help our brain with proprioception. Did they talk about that in part 1? No? All right. In your muscular makeup, the skeletal muscles, we know that we find tendons and ligaments. In the structure that we find, which if you remember, tendons and ligaments where we connect muscle to muscle and muscle to bone, okay? We're going to find that in that structure of the skeletal muscle will be some specialized skeletal fibers. Do you guys remember stuff like the Golgi tendon, that sort of thing? Those are specialized fibers. Their job send information to the brain about my place in space. My place in space. If they didn't, I would not be able to stand upright, because they're sending information that is going to make muscles contract or relax to make me stay upright. Does that make sense? So proprioception is going to be different areas of the body with parts that send information to the brain about your place in space. That's proprioception. The motor function, nerves' job, make something work. Make those skeletal muscles move. Make me be able to walk, stand up, sit down. The next couple of slides, in your textbook, they're going to go over the plexi, the nerves that are found there, and give you an idea of the names of some of those nerves. You do not have to know all these names. When you look at the syllabus, in the syllabus, I can't remember if it's after the specific chapter or if it's at the end of the syllabus. I give you a list of what I'm going to be familiar with and how to label it. Why am I asking you to do that? What are we going to have on the last day of class? Practical. Okay? So, even though your textbook is going to pretty much go over everything, I'm not asking you to know everything. Okay? So check the syllabus, check what I want you to be familiar with, because, well, for the most part, this will just come up as maybe labeling on a test or something. Alright? So it's not going to be anything that you might have to actually do in the lab, but the full list is in your syllabus of what I want you to know and be familiar with. So it's going to talk about the cervical, it's going to talk about the brachial. This is a good example of how thick and tough those nerves are, just looking at a dissection. The lumbar, the sacral, and the coccygeal. Nerve injuries are very common. Probably a very common thing that you may see once you get into your chosen profession. Nerve injuries are very prominent. Most everybody's going to have something at some time in life. And some of the more common is the radial nerve injury. Passes through, where's the axilla? Armpit. Usually happen. Ever had to walk on crutches? Okay? You have them stopped under here, you gotta walk, and it's making pressure, putting pressure, and basically the result is something called wrist drop. Sciatic nerve, most definitely. Okay? This is one that is very common. Usually what's going to happen, some way or another, it could be something as simple as bending over, and it can cause one of those intervertebral discs. Now, intervertebral disc. Now think about where my sciatic nerve is. These are the discs. These little clear pieces. Okay? These little clear pieces.